market crashes, these 7 stocks will lead the decline. And because they're such a large percentage of the index, the crash will be faster and more severe than anything we've seen. Insider selling has reached levels that historically precede major market declines. Corporate executives have access to information that ordinary investors don't. They see the real earnings, the real pipeline, the real problems before anyone else. When they start selling massive amounts of their own company's stock, it's a signal that they don't believe current prices are sustainable. Jeff Bezos sold over $13 billion worth of Amazon stock through 2024 and 2025. Mark Zuckerberg has been selling billions worth of Meta stock. Nvidia executives, even as the stock was hitting new highs, were selling shares. This is what happened in 1929 and again in 2000. Insiders know when valuations are insane and they get out before the crash. Warren Buffett, the most successful investor in history, is hoarding cash at levels he's never maintained before. Berkshire Hathaway's cash position exceeds $325 billion, the highest in the company's history both in absolute terms and as a percentage of assets. Buffett has been selling stocks, including reducing his massive Apple position, and buying treasury bills. When asked why, he cited valuations being too high and being unable to find attractive investments. Buffett's own metric, the Buffett indicator, which divides total stock market value by GDP, sits at 185%. He said that a reading above 120% indicates dangerous overvaluation. At 185%, the signal couldn't be clearer. The world's best investor is sitting in cash, waiting for the crash because he knows it's coming. The local restaurant, the small retail shop, the family-owned service business, these will fail by the hundreds of thousands. Large corporations with access to capital markets will survive, though smaller. The economy that emerges from the crash will be even more dominated by massive corporations, with small businesses playing a diminished role. This reduces competition, innovation, and economic dynamism. Social safety nets will be strained beyond capacity as unemployment surges and tax revenues collapse. The government will be caught between increasing demands for services and decreasing ability to fund those services. Spending cuts will be necessary even as more people need help. This creates a humanitarian crisis on top of the economic crisis, as vulnerable populations, the elderly, disabled, and unemployed, face reduced support at the moment they need it most. Political instability follows economic collapse. The 1930s saw the rise of extremist movements across Europe as economic desperation made people vulnerable to authoritarian promises. Weimar Germany's hyperinflation helped create the conditions that brought Hitler to power. The United States isn't immune to the political consequences of economic catastrophe. When people lose everything, they look for someone to blame and someone who promises radical solutions. The 2025 crash will reshape American politics in ways we can't predict, but that will likely be destabilizing. So why is 2025 worse than 1929 and 2008 combined? Because we have the asset bubbles of 1929 in stocks, the debt bubbles of 2008 in housing and credit, and the government debt bubble that didn't exist in either previous crisis. All three are happening simultaneously. In 1929, only stocks crashed and only 10% of Americans were affected directly. In 2008, housing crashed, but the government could borrow to bail out banks and the Fed could print money without causing inflation. In 2025, everything is crashing together and the tools to fix it don't work anymore. The Fed can't cut rates to zero because inflation is still elevated. They can't print unlimited money because they just did that and caused the worst inflation in 40 years. The government can't bail everyone out because it's already drowning in $36 trillion of debt. The 12 warning signs I've shown you, from the inverted yield curve to Warren Buffett hoarding cash, aren't speculation. They're facts. They're happening right now. The inverted yield curve that has predicted every recession since 1950 is telling us the recession is imminent within the next 3 to 9 months. Regional banks are failing. Commercial real estate is collapsing. Consumer debt is at record highs with delinquencies rising. Unemployment is rising. Insider selling is at levels that precede crashes. Every indicator is flashing red simultaneously. The timeline is clear. Based on the yield curve normalizing in September 2024, recession typically comes 3 to 12 months later. That puts us in the window of December 2025 through September 2026. Commercial mortgage refinancing peaks in 2025 and 2026. Credit card defaults are accelerating now. The trigger could come at any moment, and once it starts, the cascade will be unstoppable. This isn't prediction. This is pattern recognition. The same patterns that preceded 1929 and 2008 are present now, only more extreme. When the crash comes, stocks will drop 65 to 80% from peak, worse than 1929's 89% drop because it will be faster and more concentrated. Bonds will drop 35 to 50%, something that didn't happen in previous crashes. Real estate will drop 40 to 60%, worse than 2008's decline. Unemployment will exceed 15%. And recovery will take not 5 years like 2008, but 10 to 20 years or more because the Fed has no tools left and the government has no borrowing capacity left.
To sum all this up, the banks are in major trouble. That first blip of about $30 billion or so being lent out through a repo window is the first, because there's going to be a second, a third, and a fourth. And this could literally be the spark that leads to the kicking off of the restructuring of the banking sector, as I always talk about, because literally we're in a reset now. And there's these banking events on top of the government shutdown issues and the consumer issues that people are experiencing. Then we have all the SNAP issues, and you name it. Come up with your favorite issue that is of interest to you, and it's going to be something our government's going to try to have to pretend to be able to solve, but they can't. And you can only print so much of these before people realize that these might be the problem in of itself. So once again, just taking a minute, sharing my 2 cents.
The other thing I was seeing this past week was semi-truck automated loaders. The warehouse is organized by the forklifts that are autonomous, and then those forklifts will load the pallets on the automatic semi-loader, which then that automatic semi-loader will put all these pallets in one hit into the back of the semi-truck, which is driven autonomously. And so this whole entire circle of events will remove all those jobs. The truckers will not be needed, the pallet loaders will not be needed, and the semi-truck loaders will not be needed. The warehouse workers will not be needed. This AI takeover is happening. It's not just coming for janitorial work. It's not just coming for video editing. It's not just coming for, look, man, your accountants are going to be gone. They can do all the math, the data analysis.
If semi-trucks are fully anatomically correct, why aren't we looking at Optimus Prime here?
They want to biometrically tie everybody on the planet into this cashless digital system that they can control all kinds of things, including buying and selling, which where have I heard that before?
Yeah.
That's Revelation 13. And so I'm convinced that what these guys are doing, whether they admit it or not, know it or not, whatever, they're building the infrastructure for what God warned about 2,000 years ago called the mark of the beast system.